Cue my music. No, I'm just playing. Welcome to the lounge, everybody, and welcome to Prime Sports World. As you see, look at I'm styling and profiling here in my lounge, baby. As Prime Sports World brings you another edition of Rounding the Bases, ladies and gentlemen. This is our Race to October edition, as we got 1 month left of baseball action, ladies and gentlemen, so you don't want to miss it. But before I even start this podcast, y'all already know the drill. Please like, share, and subscribe to Prime Sports World here on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and you can follow me on Izzy underscore at PSW and Izzy underscore PSW on Twitter, or X, as what you would like to say. And in case you missed this live feed, you can catch us here on all streaming platforms where podcasts can be heard. That is Apple Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, and Samsung Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I will drop the link to that feed here in 1 second. But ladies and gentlemen, man, we're going to go over all the divisions. Baseball is coming to the best part of the season, right? To most casual fans, but this is the best, and this is the funnest part of the season. We just had an amazing series with the Braves and the Dodgers, even though the Dodgers, the Braves won 3 out of 4. But you had a head-to-head matchup of 1 and 2 in terms of the MVP race, the NL MVP race, with Ronald Acuna Jr. and Mookie Betts. And folks, they didn't disappoint. Ronald Acuna Jr. hit 3 home runs in 3 games, all 3 Atlanta Brave wins. I think Mookie hit 2 home runs and two home runs in 1 game. He's on pace to possibly almost hit close to 50 home runs off the leadoff spot. That is unprecedented. In Major League history. A guy to have that much speed. He's a 5-tool player. Him and Ronald Acuna, 5-tool players. Mookie Betts is once he gets on base, he can steal your base. He can hit you over the top. He's somebody said this to me the other day. He can't hit a home run in a home run derby, but he can hit your ace, 400 feet out the park, which is very true. Mookie Betts is a great situational hitter, and he's just been amazing. He's my, it's hard to pick between, because they're 1 and 2, right? The Dodgers are the second best team in baseball, and the Braves are number 1, right? Ronald Acuna Jr. has been playing out of his mind. He's leading the league in steals, and he's got pop out that leadout spot. And Mookie Betts is, he's been, nothing short of spectacular this season, ladies and gentlemen. I honestly, we have a few more weeks. We have 3 more weeks really until the end of the season. I think Mookie's going to at least hit 45 home runs. At least low end 45. High end 48. If he hits 50 off the leadout spot, that is incredible. It has to be one of the best seasons ever in Major League, probably in Major League history. But Mookie Betts is definitely, in my opinion, is the front runner right now for the NL MVP. Moving forward, I just want to go over some of these divisions here. So remember when we were talking about how the Tampa Bay Rays are starting up? They had that hot start. Well, the Baltimore Orioles have just been, I talked about the Baltimore Orioles, a young team. Didn't think that they were going to be this good this fast, and they actually, have been this good this fast, leading the AL East by 3.5 games. And look at down there, man. New York Yankees. This is a first for New York fans, right? Last place, New York Yankees. Only bright. The team has just been just mangled with injuries. Just haven't been playing their best ball. I don't know what the future is going to look like for Aaron Boone. But the Yankees are not looking like, hopefully next year they come back on top. But missing Judge and, Stanton pretty much sparingly throughout the year is, was tough for them. Losing Judge pretty much most of the year. It's been horrible for the New York Yankees. I think they have to retool their whole roster, in my opinion. Too many power hitters in that lineup. They need some guys that can, that can get on base and that can move over. And baseball is still baseball. Don't get it twisted. Baseball is still baseball. You see old school. You see it kind of old school ways. Ronald Acuna, he'll spray a single, he'll steal a second. Mookie Betts, he'll a single, he'll steal second on you. Baseball is still baseball. The whole thing about first pitch swings. You know, you see more of that a lot. You see more strikeouts because guys are trying to hit it out the park. Look at Kyle Schwarber. He's one of the top in home runs, but he has one of the highest strikeout percentages in the league. So baseball is still baseball. When it comes down to it, you can't go against the baseball guys. You can't go against this game and start proving your analytics, right? Guys that are swinging on 0-2 pitches. I mean, out the zone. First pitch swings is what I see a lot. Also, a lot of guys they're not moving people over, they're not bunting over. It's you can't go against the game. The game is the game. It's always been this game for hundreds of years, for 150 years. And I'll say this. You see guys that still play at an old school style, but I mean, look at Mookie Betts, look at Ronald Acuna Jr. Leadoff guys would pop it with their bat, right? You see guys like Ellie De La Cruz. I mean, he came pretty much quarter of the season, midway through the season, and he's been incredible for the Cincinnati Reds. I mean, literally, they have the stands packed, and then rightfully so, they're in the wild card race, and they've been fairly decent this year. Ellie De La Cruz, I mean, he comes up to bat. I mean, he does things that are astonishing. The speed, the arm. He's definitely a 5-2 player. The power, the glove, his fielding. I mean, he's got it all. But in talking about the AL East, nobody has been better in that division than the Baltimore Orioles. They have been probably they are the best team in the AL. And Tampa Bay's kind of fell off. The Wander Franco situation has been a hindrance to them. But the Baltimore Orioles have been just amazing this year. I expect them to win the AL East this season as it comes down to September. But it's going to be close. Moving over to probably the worst division in baseball is the AL Central. I know the Cleveland Indians are like 11 games back in the wild card. We'll get to the wild card in a second. But the best bet for the Cleveland Indians to even make the playoffs is to win the division. Neither one of these teams, somebody's got to win the division, right? If either one of these teams were in the wild card, they wouldn't make the wild card in the AL. Let's just put that out there right now. So somebody's got to win this. It's kind of similar to the AFC South, not the AFC South, but the NFC South. In football, somebody's got to win this division. Might as well be the Minnesota Twins. They're up 6 games. I expect them to win. Chicago White Sox, very disappointing. I picked the White Sox probably at the beginning of the season to win this division. 19 games back. They were definitely sellers at the trade deadline, trading Lance Lynn, trading Lucas Giolito. They disappointed this year, but right now, looking at it right now, the Minnesota Twins, and I mean, they hung up, I think, 19 runs the other day on Cleveland, as a matter of fact. But somebody's got to win this division. It might as well be Minnesota. I can care less. Both these teams either one of these teams will get bounced. Cleveland's done. Tito Francona has already said that he's going to retire after this season. Cleveland's done, in my opinion. I don't even think they got a shot. I don't think they could. We've seen weird things happen in the last month of baseball, though, like where teams fall off and teams get hot. But I think the Minnesota Twins got this division locked up, and I think the Minnesota Twins they will get ousted in the wild card. Point blank. That's it. AL West. This is a very competitive division. I mean, right now Houston's in the driver's seat. They're in first place, but Seattle's right there, right behind. It's a three team race right here. The Angels were fake good to start the season, then they fell off. First Houston, Seattle, Texas. Texas is the best Texas is the best offense in baseball. But one thing I can say this is that somebody told me this. A wise baseball fanatic told me that Houston's got Texas number. Houston's got Texas number. Houston's got Texas number. Well, in the regular season, I said, Texas has been having Houston's number. It showed. I believe they won. I believe they won their last series against them, if I'm not mistaken. Here, I could pull that up. But needless to say, the Houston Astros are, they're looking to win this division. If they're going to win this division, they have some really important series down the stretch. They just played Texas and they just swept Texas, right? 3 games in a row. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they just swept Texas 3 games in a row. 13-6, 14-1, 12-3. And honestly, I'll say this right now. Honestly, I'll say this right now. That wise baseball fanatic, he was right. He was right. Texas just can't beat Houston. They just can't get over the hump. They just cannot get over the hump. They have another important series probably with the San Diego Padres, who, are pretty much out of playoff contention at this time, in my opinion. Well, not in my opinion, but they are out of playoff contention. But yeah, Houston just swept Texas. They got a real important series with San Diego this coming weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which I think they're at home. They should win. Then they play the A's. Then they play Kansas City. Then they go against Baltimore, which is going to be a pretty important series. That's probably a ALCS preview right there. Then they play Kansas City in another 3-game series, and they play Seattle, and then they finish off the season with in Arizona. Finish out the season on the road back-to-back series with Seattle and Arizona. And that Seattle series could be very important for Seattle in terms of wild card positioning, which I think they'll make the wild card. But in terms of, if it's close and Seattle is, and Seattle's, right there, 1 game back still. That's a very, very, very important series right there. So Houston's got some plan down here down the stretch, but I think and for Seattle, Luis Castillo has come out very strong towards the second half of the season, starting pitcher for them. So Seattle has been great. And if I had the Julio Rodriguez, second half MVP. If I had to pick an MVP, because Shohei Ohtani went down, he's still gonna be he went down, latter half of the second half of the season. But I will say this. Julio Rodriguez is probably the second half AL MVP because Shohei hasn't been playing. And he's still going to be nominated for AL MVP because he's played enough games. Another guy, Corey Seager, but he's not going to be eligible for AL MVP, but he's been playing lights out since he's gotten back because he's been injured most of the season, but he's been playing lights out for Texas since he's gotten back. But Julio Rodriguez, I think, in my opinion, if there was another AL MVP to give out, and there's only one, he would get it second half of the season. Hands down. Julio Rodriguez has been amazing. But I expect all 3 of these teams to make the playoffs. NL East. Yes, the Atlanta Braves. That's it. I don't even have to talk about it. Philly and Miami are in the wild card. They're probably, I wouldn't say locks, but they're in the wild card conversation. I think they are in the wild card seat with the Chicago Cubs. But yeah, this is Atlanta's division to lose. 13 and a half games back. I don't see them giving up that lead at all. Talking about the NL Central. Woo! The Chicago Cubs, 1.5 games back from Milwaukee. Then you got the Cincinnati Reds, 5.5 games back. Everybody else, Pittsburgh, St. Louis. St. Louis has been very disappointing this year. But man, that series, that 2-game series to end the year, with Chicago and Milwaukee. In Milwaukee might be important. The only thing is, excuse me, is that Chicago, before they play Milwaukee, they have to play Atlanta, which is going to be a tough test. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, last series the Chicago Cubs won that series against Atlanta. So something to look out for. The Milwaukee Brewers have an easier schedule down the stretch. Much easier schedule than Chicago. I think they finished the season before they play the Cubs. They have to play the Cardinals to end the season, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's a 3-game series. It's a 3-game series. Sorry, I thought it was 2 games. It's a 3-game series: Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Milwaukee. But before that, they play St. Louis, and then they play St. Louis 2 times. In between, they play Miami, and they play Washington and Miami. So they got to play Miami twice, which is going to be a tough series for them. Miami's going to come out and bring it because they're trying to make the wild card this season. They're trying to make the playoffs this season. And St. Louis is, you'll probably pretty much see AAA guys in St. Louis. You'll see guys that they're just trying to bring up to see what they got at St. Louis. So I expect those to be at least 5 to 6 wins for the Milwaukee Brewers coming down the stretch before they have to end the season with the Chicago Cubs. Chicago Cubs down the stretch have a little bit of a harder schedule. As I said, they have to play the Atlanta Braves before they play the Milwaukee Brewers in Milwaukee. They play the Arizona Cardinals twice. They play the Colorado Rockies twice. Who the Colorado Rockies are very stingy, very tough team. Even though they're not going to win the West. And the Arizona Diamondbacks are looking to make a push for the wild card as well. So tough series is a tough 7 games. I mean, the Cubs have a tough schedule coming down the stretch here. But I mean, they're 4-game win streak. They won 7 out of their last 9. 9 out of their last what? I want to say 12. 9 out of 12 they won. Maybe 4. Yeah, 9 out of the last 12. So the Cubs have been very hot, especially in the month of August. They have been extremely hot. And Cody Bellinger has been outstanding for the Chicago Cubs. And I mean, I'm not on the homer stuff, but yeah, I got the Cubs winning the NL Central. Anyways, moving on to the and Cody Bellinger, like I said, he's been hot the last 2 months of the season, these last 2 months. And Seiya Suzuki, had a 13, 14 game hit streak, 15 game hit streak, something like that. So the Chicago Cubs are playing excellent. Justin Steele is on the precipice of probably winning the NL Cy Young. But anyways, moving on to the NL West. Yes, it is the LA Dodgers division to lose. They are 13 games ahead of the Arizona Cardinals and Arizona Diamondbacks and 15 games ahead of the San Francisco Giants. And I'll say this, the LA Dodgers, to start the season, they were a little slow, but I mean, from the first month of the season, first month and a half, I mean, they have been lights out this season for the rest of the season. Mookie Betts is probably AL MVP. I mean, that lineup is scary. Next to Atlanta, that lineup is scary. I did mention this. I mean, the one thing that I will talk about is Julio Arias. I mean, I think he'll be back for the playoffs. He had a domestic violence situation. It's not a good situation for him or the LA Dodgers. But I do think that the LA Dodgers will be just fine. Let's talk about Arizona. I mean, Zach Gallen's NL Cy Young Award nominee as well, right? He should be probably in the top 5 in voting this year. He's been absolutely sensational for the Arizona Diamondbacks. The San Francisco Giants, they played pretty well this year. They're looking for, I think there might be 6 or 7 games back in the wild card of the top 3 wild card teams. And then San Diego has just been very disappointing. I mean, every San Diego Padres fan will say that they have been very, very, very disappointed in their San Diego Padres. I mean, that team is so talented. I mean, Blake Snell has a possibility to win the NL Cy Young Award. I don't, you got Juan Soto, you got Manny Machado, you got Fernando Tatis Jr. I mean, you got Jake Cronenworth. You got guys that are all over that lineup that could bat, and they just have just been so disappointing. And Blake Snell, he's got 9 losses, but he leads the league in ERA. So disappointing. So disappointing, San Diego Padres. But, well, sometimes teams like that, my Cubs, after winning the World Series, they were disappointed for 2-3 years. Then we had to blow it up, and now look where we're at. We're back in the playoffs. And I said this last year, ladies and gentlemen, that the Chicago Cubs will make a play right back into the playoffs when they were one of the worst teams in the league in the last couple of years. I said they'll be back in the playoffs this year. I thought it would be next year. I thought their farm system was gonna start making tread, but this year David Ross has these guys believing. So, anyways, not to toot my Cubbies horn, but the San Diego Padres, we've been there. Looking at the AL wild card, like I said, Tampa Bay, Seattle, Toronto, it's crazy to say that the Texas Rangers may not make the wild card this year. They may not make the playoffs this year. The Toronto Blue Jays may get that last wild card slot. So that's something to look out for here coming up. Here coming up in the season. Let me talk about the Blue Jays a little bit. I mean, the Blue Jays have been, playing some good baseball in the month of August. They've been playing some decent baseball in the month of August. They have the Texas Rangers coming up after Kansas City. They have a 4-game series with the Texas Rangers. Then they play Boston, New York, Tampa, New York, Tampa again to end the year. And that's tough, right? New York, not so much, but Tampa back to Tampa in between is going to be tough. Boston still kind of playing. Boston still on the fringe a little bit, in my opinion. But yeah, the Texas Rangers, they got that big 4-game series coming up on this coming up Monday. And that is going to be something to watch. That is a big series for both teams here when it comes to playoff positioning. And also, I mean, they have to play the Red Sox and the Yankees twice as well, which, all those teams in the AL East are playoff contending teams. I mean, the Boston Red Sox could very much make a big push towards the end of the season. This is why I love this part of the season, because they could very well make a push towards the end of the season, them and the Yankees, and make the playoffs and knock Texas out and knock Toronto out, or knock Boston out, or knock Seattle out, which I don't think is going to happen. But these are the top 6 teams in the wild card right here, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why I didn't put the whole wild card, because it's only 6 teams, in my opinion. There's only 6 teams. When I'm focusing on pretty much on 18 teams in this podcast, because when you look at it, the Yankees have a track record of making a push at the end of the season. The Red Sox, same thing, making a push. So don't count these teams out. Don't count these teams out. When it comes to the NL wild card, Philly's on top. They're ahead. They have the top wild card slot, but the Chicago Cubs are right there. They're vying for to win the AL Central, or the NL Central. Sorry. And then you have the Miami Marlins and the Arizona Cardinals, Arizona Diamondbacks, and the Seattle, Cincinnati Reds, and San Francisco Giants. They're all right there. There's 4 teams. I mean, this whole wild card is just pretty much open, in my opinion. I think when it's all said and done, you'll see the Phillies make it. You'll see the Cubs make it, and that Cubs Cardinals, that Cubs Diamondbacks, those 7 games that they have are going to be key in terms of this race. The Cubs need to win those games in order to keep pace and to stay above the 3.5 games up above Arizona right now. But right now, this is a very, very, very tight NL wildcard race. And this is why I love this part of the year, because the last part of the year is when things start getting tough. They start getting real close. Things start getting sticky. And I when it's all said and done, I think you're going to see the Philadelphia Phillies. You're going to see the Phillies, the Cubs. And I'm going to go on a whim. I'm going to say the Cincinnati Reds are going to make wild card. I think the Cincinnati Reds are going to make the playoffs. I think Miami's going to fall off. I think Arizona's not going to make it by a slim margin. Both those teams are going to not make it by a slim margin. The San Francisco Giants are not going to make it by a slim margin. I think the Cincinnati Reds, they have some momentum building up. They have some momentum building up here already in September. And I look at their schedule here coming up. I think they're done playing. I think they're done playing the Cubs and the Brewers, which is good for them, even though they beat the Cubs 2 out of 4 times in the last series they played. But they play St. Louis 3 times, the first series 3 times. They can win, this Friday, Saturday. They can win this weekend. They could sweep them. Then they play Detroit. Then they play the Mets, which should be a tougher series for them. But I think, they're on the road in Detroit, which Detroit has played pretty well at home. They played okay at home so far. I think the New York Mets, at home could shock them, but I still think the Cincinnati Reds are better than the Mets. They have a tough series with the Twins. Then they have to play the Pirates, the Indians. I mean, not the Indians, the Guardians. And then they end their year in St. Louis. So my thing is that I think the Reds have a hell of a chance to make the wild card this season. They're only a half game back from Miami. They have an easy schedule down the road, down the stretch here. I think the Reds are going to make a push. I think they make the playoffs. I think that Arizona has a tougher schedule, having to have those 2 series against the Cubs. I think San Francisco has a tough schedule down the stretch as well. I think Cincinnati has an easy schedule. I think Miami has an easy schedule as well too, but I think Miami has a tougher schedule when it comes to playing the when it comes to down the stretch. Let me look at Miami's schedule here down the stretch. But yeah, that's who I think it's going to be. The Phillies, be the Cubs, it'll be the Reds making the wild card. And just to go back on the Miami Marlins, they're finishing out right now. They're in the midst of a 6-game win streak right now. They're looking to sweep the Dodgers and be on a 7-game win streak. They have to play Philly, who's the top wild card team. They have to play Milwaukee. They have to play Atlanta. They have to go into New York and play the Mets. Then they play Milwaukee again. So when I look at Miami, they have a very, very tough. I thought it was easy. They actually have a very tough stretch. 3 out of those 4 series are playoff teams. 3 out of those 5 series are playoff teams down the stretch. So it's going to be tough for Miami. I think Cincinnati has a easier schedule, an easier path to make the wild card. So when I look at it all, I think it's going to be Philly, Chicago, Cincinnati making the wild card. You have 3 teams making the wild card. Actually, I don't even think Chicago's going to win the wild card. I think Chicago's going to win the division. Like I said, I think it'll be Philly, Milwaukee, and Cincinnati to make the wild card. It'd be close, though. It'd be close. And if the postseason ended today, this is what you will see, ladies and gentlemen. You'll have on the AL side, number 1 seed, Baltimore Orioles will have pretty much a bye all the way to the DS, a first-round bye, and so do the Houston Astros. And then they wait. The Baltimore Orioles await the winner of Tampa and Seattle in the wild card series, and then Houston awaits the winner of Minnesota and Toronto. And then on the NL side, you have the top 2 seeds, the Braves and the Dodgers, and then they wait. The Braves await the Cubs and the Phillies, which honestly, right now, I honestly believe that the Braves do not want to see either one of those teams in the playoffs. They don't want to see either one of those teams in the playoffs. As good as the Braves has been, Spencer Strider's an NL Cy Young a nominee, in my opinion. He's going to be top 5 in voting, top 3 in voting, in my opinion. Brian O'Quinn is going to be close with the NL MVP. That whole team is amazing, right? But it's something about the Cubs, man. They're having a special end of the season. They're a very tough team. They have great starting pitching. The Braves don't want to see neither one of those teams. If anything, the Braves want to see the Marlins or the Brewers. That's who they want to see. The Braves want to see the Marlins or the Brewers. And the Dodgers, I think, are going to sweep the floor with the Marlins or the Brewers if they have to face them. So that's just me. Shout out to Shirai, Dodgers Nation. Yeah, the Dodgers are hands down. They're looking to, they will wipe the floor with Milwaukee or Miami. Hands down, they'll wipe the floor with Miami. But this is the playoff picture, so to speak, if the season ended today. I know we have a month left of baseball, so this may change, ladies and gentlemen. But anyways, moving on to our award predictions, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll get the drum roll going. I wish I had a drum roll going. I wish I had a drum roll going for my NL MVP. I will just tell you right now that NL MVP is close. AL MVP, not so close, but should be closer. NL Cy Young's close. AL Cy Young, not so close. But as I preview these four, please comment in the comment section who you think is going to win the NL MVP, all the MVP awards. I didn't put a Gold Glove. I didn't put a Gold Glove team out there, even though I have some names that could win Gold Gloves. But right now, I don't have any Gold Glove selections right now. So I just stuck to these four awards. But let me know in the comment section who you think will be the NL AL MVP and NL AL Cy Young, and also who is going to make the who your top 6 teams that are going to make the playoffs in the AL and NL, ladies and gentlemen. But drum roll, please. NL MVP this year, Israel Rivera and Prime Sports World presents Mookie Betts. I think Mookie Betts is going to hit 45 to 48 home runs out of the leadoff spot. Mookie Betts has been absolutely amazing. Ronald Acuna is a close second, but Mookie Betts has been on a tear, especially since the second half of the season. There's nobody better. I mean, since All-Star break, he's recording, a 1.141 on base percentage, 10 home runs, 13 doubles, 32 RBIs. He's hitting 395. I mean, he's slugging 669. This kid has been, he's been playing multiple positions all season long, especially this month. He's been playing infield. He's played outfield. Mookie Betts is definitely AL MVP. And then when I look at Ronald Acuna, he has been the NL MVP majority of the season, but Mookie just really just took it to another level after the All-Star break. In the month of August alone, Ronald Acuna 9.984 on base percentage, which is under Mookie, but 10 steals and 5 home runs. I mean, he's the first MLB player since D. Gordon, 2017. It's been 6 years to steal 60 bases in a season, and he's not done. So yeah, Ronald Acuna Jr. has been absolutely amazing so far. It's a two-guy race for NL MVP. AL MVP. Get my drum roll here. And the AL MVP, Prime Sports World presents Shohei Ohtani. He has been amazing. Pretty much most of the season, he's been amazing. He built a big enough lead in the first half to pretty much win this award. He's been, amazing. I mean, the dude was amazing on the mound. The UCL tear hurt him a little bit. But Shohei Ohtani's been amazing this year. He's going to win the AL MVP. But I think a close second should be Julio Rodriguez. I think second half of the season, he's been amazing since July 1st, 11 home runs, 17 steals, 45 RBIs. And Seattle's gone 35-13 over that span, the best record in baseball. He's been quite amazing so far this year. And then in August, he had 45 hits and a 429 batting average with a 1.198 on base percentage. He's just been hot so far this year. But Shohei Ohtani has been, one of the lead leaguers in home runs. He is my AL MVP this season. Moving on to the NL Cy Young Award here. And this is a close race. I really have 3-4 guys here that I can put here. It's really close. Blake Snell, Justin Steele, Spencer Strider, Zach Gallen. All 4 of those guys very much well could win NL Cy Young, and rightfully so. Blake Snell, and he's getting a little too much love, but I could see why. He's leading the league in ERA, but I mean, he's got 9 losses. His team's not that great. Or they've underperformed so far. But my NL Cy Young Award winner, Prime Sports World picks Justin Steele of the Chicago Cubs, ladies and gentlemen. Justin Steele has been amazing in the last month of the season. I mean, the last couple months of the season. I mean, he had just had an amazing shutout in his last couple outings. I mean, Justin Steele has been amazing so far. Blake Snell's been amazing. I mean, he's leading the league in ERAs. He's third in Ks. He's 12-9 in terms of wins and losses here on the season. So he very much well could win an NL Cy Young, the NL Cy Young Award. But I'm going to go with my boy Justin Steele. Spencer Strider's leading the league in Ks with 250 by a long shot. But he has his ERAs almost close to 4. He's a guy that, if he's not striking you out, he's giving up a lot of hits in Spencer Strider. But he's been amazing as well. He's, I think, tied first with wins with Justin Steele in the majors. So I think Justin Steele is going to win 20 games this year easily. I think he's going to win 20 games this year, close to 20, at least 19. At least 19, he'll win. And I think Spencer Strider went close to 20 as well, 19, 20 as well. So they'll be number 1 and 2 there in terms of the win-loss column. But I'm going to go with Justin Steele. I mean, he's put the Cubs in a prime position the last month and a half to win the AL Central. As a Blake Snell's been playing on a pretty bad team, putting up some numbers, but playing on a pretty bad team. And his stuff's been nasty this year, as the numbers say. But I'm going with Justin Steele to win his first ever NL Cy Young Award. Shout out to my Chicago Cubbies, baby. And then the last but not least, we got the AL Cy Young Award here. And this one should be a no-brainer here. Prime Sports World presents Gerrit Cole. Gerrit Cole should win the AL Cy Young. Luis Castillo has played really well in the second half of the season. But this is Kevin Gausman's played well. Sonny Gray's played well. Framber Valdez, but Gerrit Cole is on another level. He's just on another level. And I mean, if the Yankees win, if the Yankees make the wild card, they're scary. They could be a scary team with all the hitters in their lineup, but they're scary because Gerrit Cole is their ace. So I say this to say that he's the number 1, leading man in the driver's seat for the AL Cy Young Award, ladies and gentlemen. And Gerrit Cole has been phenomenal most of his career. This year, it's nothing short of spectacular on the mound, despite the season that the Yankees have had overall. But Gerrit Cole is definitely your AL Cy Young Award winner for Prime Sports World, ladies and gentlemen. And anyways, that has been a wrap. Like I said, hope you guys enjoyed the lounge. Look, Roundin the Bases coming back to you again just before the season, just before the playoff starts, just to give you our playoff predictions here, ladies and gentlemen. So you don't want to miss that. But before we end the show, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast here at Prime Sports World at Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And catch me at Izzy_PSW on X/Twitter, ladies and gentlemen. And in case you missed this live show, you can catch us on all streaming platforms where podcasts can be heard. That is Apple Music, Samsung Music, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and Spotify, ladies and gentlemen. So you don't want to miss all that good content that Prime Sports World is bringing you this week. And I think later on, probably in another hour or so, David will bring you another edition of the crossover here, so you guys don't want to miss that. And then tomorrow, you do not want to miss me and my main man Christian Simpson bringing you the heat with College Football Showdown every Friday night, bringing our games to watch, our Heisman rankings here, and talking about last week as, man, Colorado put that hurting on TCU, like I said. So you guys don't want to miss that content here at Prime Sports World, bringing you that heat 24/7, keeping you locked in here, 360 degrees around the axis, ladies and gentlemen. And shout out to my people out in Europe, out in Finland, for listening to the show there on our podcast in Ireland. Prime Sports World is worldwide, baby. We worldwide, baby. Anyways, before I get out, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to let you guys know, in case I miss you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Ladies and gentlemen, sayonara, suckers.